somehow we make the smooth segue to Michael Silver, the NFL Network reporter. And I don't know if he's ever been confronted in a way like that where you thought maybe you were going to be harmed, Michael. Have you had one of those moments in your career?
Well, obviously, Dan. First of all, I was told that there would be a guest host, so a little shaken.
I couldn't get Trey Wingo, but I'm sorry, Michael. I'm sorry if you were deceived.
Early on, I started out covering the 49ers in 1989, and early on, I was on a trip to Atlanta. It's in the Marriott Marquis with those glass elevators, and on a Sunday morning, only Charles Haley and I were in the elevator, and he stared at me with and I want to throw you out of this elevator face. And, we'd had our back and forths, and he was a little erratic, but I was kind of surprised. So I tried humor, and I said, "What's that, your game face?" And he goes, "It's the only face you're going to see for the rest of the year." And I was like, you know what? Floor 16, getting off a little early. Bye.
You got off on a floor that wasn't even your floor.
Not my floor. No, not at all.
All right, you got my attention yesterday. The Seahawks are staying quiet in the wake of Russell Wilson's recent comments on this show. But are they taking calls or are they shopping him?
Well, I think you definitely got their attention. You collectively, your show and Russell, and some subsequent appearances. It was, if I'm not wrong, it was timed to the Man of the Year award, which is a great honor. And I think they were a little taken aback and caught off guard and not thrilled. But there's a long road between not thrilled and we're trading our franchise quarterback. But you have two things going on. One, your show is popular and the rest of the league took notice, and teams started calling like, "Hey, what's going on with Russell?" And you have John Schneider, the general manager, who I believe is the best in the game. But one thing that he has always been true to is he's not one of these GMs who just says, "Nope, not talking." For example, Nick Caserio, the new GM of the Texans, currently has been telling teams calling about Deshaun Watson, who has asked to be traded, we are not trading him. Now, I believe they will trade him ultimately, but they are not even entertaining those conversations. But John Schneider has always been a guy who just says, well, I think we're not trading Russell Wilson, but since you called, what are you thinking? So I said yesterday about a third of the league has called, and there's a sense out there, and this is from team side, not from the Seahawks side, that 3 first-round picks is about where it would start. Do I think Pete Carroll wants to start over with a new quarterback and reboot at this stage of his career? No. But, they definitely are aware that they have a quarterback who was at the very least acting out.
Do you know the 10 teams?
I know some of them. I just, I haven't really reported who has called specifically on this one, but
can we do that now?
We know but we know the teams that are aggressively seeking quarterbacks, right? There are a lot of them, and there are some of those teams have quarterbacks. That's why this is so hard for not only me but actual GMs and decision makers to wrap their arms around, because it's the Brady effect. It's post Brady fever, but last year seemed wild. Now we have a situation where not only do you have all these enticing people coming out in the draft, not only do you have people who are potentially free, and then you look at now Ben Roethlisberger's potentially in play, but then you have the domino effect guys. For example, if the Raiders say, Russell Wilson for 3 ones, we could maybe get a 1 for Derek Carr, and that's 2 more ones. Let's go. Well, then Derek Carr is now in play. Is Jimmy Garoppolo in play? Would Kirk Cousins or Matt Ryan be in play? So that's why I think timing is really, really key. And we've seen the Stafford Goff dominoes fall. We saw the Wentz domino fall. Now, there's Darnold, there's Roethlisberger, there's potentially Russell. I don't think it'll come to that, but it's all being talked about.
Do you think there's been an offer, like a true offer for Russell Wilson?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think the way that John Schneider communicates, he probably has a sense of a very basic framework of what teams would throw out there. But no, I don't think what you and I would consider a reportable offer as journalists. My guess is no, but I honestly don't know, because I will say this about the Seahawks. Unlike the Texans, who are the only ones talking in that situation, and the player is not publicly talking, Deshaun Watson. I hate that I called him the player, because that was sarcasm, because that's what Nick Caserio referred to him as. It's an old Belichick Parcells thing, so that was a joke. But in the Seahawks case, Wilson is the one who has talked, and they are intentionally being very, very publicly quiet.
I'm always fascinated with the Niners because it feels like the Niners are in on other quarterbacks, but then they try to tell you, hey, but Jimmy Garoppolo is our quarterback. Jimmy Garoppolo is your quarterback now. He's not your quarterback for the future, in my opinion. So why the charade here with what's going on? Are the Niners in the market for an upgrade over Jimmy Garoppolo?
Okay, well, first of all, there's this whole new honesty thing. And I had this conversation with Sean McVay even before Jared Goff was traded, because he was committed to not lying in his mind. And I was like, yeah, but, it started with, and I love all these people. It started with Steve Keim when they asked him about Josh Rosen at the Combine when they had the first overall pick. And he goes, yeah, Josh is our quarterback for sure right now. And I was like, yeah, don't try that with your spouses at home. Honey, you're definitely my soulmate right now. That won't work. So then obviously McVay did it, and Les Snead then kind of went out and tried to do bad stand-up comedy, and I thought it disrespected a player that didn't deserve it in Goff. And finally, we had Kevin Colbert, who doesn't speak publicly much, do it with Ben, and kind of like, whoa. So, I think what the 49ers, kind of like the Raiders with Derek Carr, have been pretty consistent on message, which is, we love this guy. He's our guy. We're always looking at every position and possibly upgrading. I think the most likely scenario with the Niners would be Jimmy's back with a young quarterback, whether he's drafted or a young guy they trade for to complement him. But it is possible that he won't be. And so, you look at a Kirk Cousins. I know how I see Kirk Cousins. I know how fans, by and large, see Kirk Cousins. And I know how a lot of other talent evaluators and coaches see Kirk Cousins. But I also know that Kyle Shanahan, Sean McVay, Matt LaFleur, Mike McDaniel, those great coaches who had him in Washington, see him much differently. And, they believe in their system that he's a really, really, really good player. So I always kind of wonder, is that something that the 49ers would be able to swing if Minnesota would part with them? Kyle had Matt Ryan, Darnold's out there, and Deshaun Watson is kind of sitting out there. Obviously a lot of teams would be very, very interested, but there's price and there's timing and all that.
He's Michael Silver. You can follow him, NFL Network reporter, on Twitter at Michael Silver. Are the Steelers telling Ben, but Ben's not picking up on the hint, that they're ready to move on, but let's do this in a gracious manner and we'll let you go out in style?
I'm really torn on this one because, I'm told that Kevin Colbert, after he spoke publicly, reached out to Ben's camp and was like, whoa, that's not what it seemed. So I want to believe that logically, they had a talk with Ben right after the season. He was like, look, I want to come back. They were like, okay, but we might be doing some extreme home makeover stuff, so let's talk in a few weeks and be sure. And Ben's like, no, I'm sure. Well, Pouncey has since retired, a very important guy. I think we all look at the Steelers free agents and cap situation and we go, they're going to have to make some hard choices. So I think what's going to happen next is they're going to have a conversation pretty soon, this week, maybe next week, with Ben. Men who've done a lot of business together for a long time, Art Rooney, Kevin Colbert, Mike Tomlin, once he recovers from COVID, and Ben. And they'll say, look, this is what our team's going to look like. You sure you're into this? Now, it's possible, you're right, that they're going to say, dude, we just want to reboot. Thank you for your service, or something to that effect. If that's the case, I talked to one head coach of a, pretty stacked team who told me, yeah, I'm in that market. Not like I'm definitely signing Ben Roethlisberger, but I want to have that conversation for sure. So then the question would become, does Ben want to keep playing elsewhere? And, we've seen Marino say no to that question. Aikman said no. Montana said yes. Favre said yes. Brady said yes. So it's one of those interesting scenarios.
If you had to bet a week's pay, Russell Wilson under center when the Seahawks open up the season?
Well, now you know that I do okay, right? I was at SI, I went to Yahoo, and I advantageous time. Then NFL Network swooped me up. So I'm not a gambler, but now I got to really be right about this. I would bet that Russell Wilson is a Seahawk, but I don't want anyone to just take that out of context. What happened on your show was a very legitimately significant event in the NFL world. It has changed the course of some teams' thinking, including the Seahawks. And if he doesn't get traded, I don't want people to circle back and go, "Oh, Dan Patrick, hype that thing up." This is real.
Well, I didn't hype it up. All I did is say,
right.
Yeah.
I know you did.
I mean,
yeah. That was your guest host. That was Trey Wingo, I think.
No, but I had every network called during the show while I was doing the interview saying we want the Russell Wilson interview.
Right.
And I don't know about the first round picks, and you said a third of the league is calling, but I don't have any information on that. I just know that I was told by a source that this isn't sustainable under the current condition. But that was a follow-up to what Russell was saying, which, as we know, it's uncharacteristic for Russ to say what he said because he famously tries his best to not say anything.
Well, and the caveat is that, Russell Wilson could go to them today and say, I don't want to be here. And I think in that scenario, as with the Texans and Deshaun Watson, you have a much more interesting stare down. We have plenty of NFL executives and coaches who in that situation would say, I'm not letting a player force his way out. I will put my foot down. Mike Brown tried it with Carson Palmer, and even Mike Brown, who you would think on paper would make Carson Palmer wait for 10 years, he only made it to October before the Raiders convinced him to part. On the other hand, remember Kobe Bryant, the late great Kobe Bryant, told the Lakers, "I want to get out of here. I want to be on the Clippers," and they were like, "Can't really hear you." And that worked out for the Lakers and Kobe. So I don't know.
Michael, great to talk to you.
You too, Dan.
Thank you, buddy. That's Michael Silver, NFL Network reporter.